The sky has always been a battleground for power, courage, and innovation. Every era of aviation has its legends, machines that defied expectations and redefined what flight could be. But hidden in the pages of history lies a masterpiece that few remember, a sleek, mysterious aircraft that looked more like a futuristic spaceship than a World War II-era plane. It was called the Northrop F-15 Reporter, and though its life was short, it became one of the most advanced and unique reconnaissance aircraft ever built. This is the untold story of a forgotten jet that quietly ruled the skies in its own way. This is the story of the F-15 Reporter, the real king of the sky. Welcome to Wings of War, the channel where we uncover the legends, secrets, and glory of the most extraordinary aircraft ever to fly. From the roaring engines of supersonic fighters to the graceful glide of reconnaissance planes that watched history unfold, we celebrate them all. If you're passionate about aviation history, the thrill of flight, and the machines that shape the world, you're in the right place. So fasten your seatbelt, pilot. Today, we're taking you back to a time when innovation ruled the air, and one jet dared to see what others couldn't. Our story begins in the final years of World War II. The United States was dominating the air with legendary fighters like the P-51 Mustang, the P-38 Lightning, and the P-47 Thunderbolt. But as the war neared its end, new needs emerged. The military didn't just need fighters to shoot down enemies. They needed eyes in the sky, aircraft capable of flying long distances, high altitudes, and fast enough to capture reconnaissance photos deep inside enemy territory. Information was power, and whoever could see the battlefield first would win the next war. Enter Jack Northrop, a visionary engineer who believed the future of flight was all about sleek designs, radical aerodynamics, and cutting-edge technology. His company, Northrop Aircraft, had already made waves with the P-61 Black Widow, a powerful night fighter that was both beautiful and deadly. The U.S. Army Air Forces were so impressed that they came back to Northrop with a challenge: build a new aircraft for photo reconnaissance, faster, higher, and more capable than anything in service. Northrop accepted, and the result was the Northrop F-15 Reporter. At first glance, the F-15 Reporter looked familiar. It was based heavily on the P-61 Black Widow's frame, but Northrop transformed it into something entirely new. The bulky, armed night fighter was reimagined into a sleek, aerodynamic twin-engine reconnaissance jet. The guns were removed, the fuselage streamlined, and a long, pointed nose was added to house advanced camera systems. The result was stunning: a silver, glass-nosed aircraft that looked like it was built for speed and stealth. It was powered by two Pratt & Whitney R-2800 double Wasp engines, the same engines used in top American fighters, giving it a top speed of over 440 miles per hour and a service ceiling of 33,000 feet. For the late 1940s, those were jaw-dropping numbers. But what made the F-15 Reporter truly special was not just its speed, it was its vision. This aircraft was literally built to see. Inside its long nose were multiple high-resolution cameras capable of capturing massive sections of terrain in incredible detail. It could photograph cities, bases, or landscapes from high altitude with pinpoint accuracy. Pilots and photo technicians described its performance as unmatched, with clarity so precise that analysts could identify individual vehicles or even track troop movements from the images it brought home. The F-15's job was not to fight but to reveal. It was a silent hunter, flying alone above enemy territory, unseen and untouchable. In many ways, it was one of the first true spy planes of the modern era, long before the U-2 or State Route 71 Blackbird took to the skies. It combined the agility of a fighter with the brains of a reconnaissance platform, a hybrid few could match. When the first F-15 prototype took off in July 1945, it proved to be one of the smoothest test flights ever recorded by Northrop. Pilots praised its balance, responsiveness, and incredible stability at high speeds. The aircraft could climb faster than most bombers, turn sharply like a fighter, and cruise smoothly for hours on long missions. Even its cockpit design was ahead of its time, wide, clear, and optimized for long flights, with enough visibility for pilots to observe targets directly. However, timing can be cruel in aviation history. By the time the F-15 Reporter was ready for full production, World War II had ended. America no longer needed a massive fleet of reconnaissance aircraft, and the military's budget was shrinking fast. The jet age was also beginning, and piston-engine planes were quickly becoming obsolete. The F-15, though advanced, was still a prop-driven aircraft. Despite its brilliance, it was overshadowed by new designs like the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star, America's first operational jet fighter. Still, the Air Force saw value in the F-15's unique role and ordered a small number for service. In 1947, it was officially designated the F-15A Reporter, marking the birth of a name that would later be reborn in the famous F-15 Eagle decades later. The Reporter entered limited service with the newly formed U.S. Air Force, performing reconnaissance duties around the Pacific, especially in areas like Japan and Korea. It mapped vast territories, photographed mountains, cities, and coastlines, and provided intelligence that would later prove invaluable in the Korean War. But beyond military work, the F-15 Reporter achieved something remarkable. It became one of the first aircraft used for large-scale peacetime aerial mapping. The U.S. Geological Survey used it to capture images of the American landscape, helping chart regions that had never been photographed from the air before. It also took part in several secret missions that, even today, remain partially classified. Some reports suggest that it conducted early reconnaissance over Soviet-held territories, though this remains officially unconfirmed. Despite its quiet excellence, the F-15 Reporter's career was tragically short. Only 36 were ever built, and by 1950, most were retired or lost in accidents. The combination of budget cuts, the arrival of jet aircraft, and the high maintenance demands of its engines spelled the end. One of the last operational Reporters crashed while fighting a fire near Yosemite National Park in 1952, marking the symbolic close of an era. And just like that, one of the most advanced reconnaissance aircraft of its time faded into obscurity. Few people today even know it existed, overshadowed by the jet-powered legends that came after it. But aviation experts still consider the F-15 Reporter one of Northrop's greatest designs, a perfect balance of speed, precision, and elegance. If you look closely, the F-15 Reporter's legacy still lives on. It pioneered the concept of fast, unarmed reconnaissance aircraft, a philosophy that would define spy planes for decades. Its combination of speed and photographic capability laid the foundation for later legends like the U-2 Dragon Lady and the State Route 71 Blackbird. The Reporter proved that information could be just as powerful as weapons, and that seeing the battlefield first could change the outcome of any war. And then, of course, there's its name, F-15. When McDonnell Douglas unveiled the jet-powered F-15 Eagle in the 1970s, the world saw a fighter that truly dominated the skies. But few realized that the name, F-15, had already flown before, carried by a sleek silver Scout that once ruled the skies in silence. It's a poetic connection. The old F-15 Reporter was the eye of the sky, and the new F-15 Eagle became its fist. Together, they represent two sides of the same coin, knowledge and power. Imagine standing on a dusty runway in 1947, watching the F-15 Reporter start its engines. The twin propellers roar to life, the sleek silver body glints under the morning sun, and as it accelerates down the runway, it seems to cut through the air effortlessly. Within seconds, it lifts gracefully into the sky, vanishing into the clouds, unseen, unheard, but watching everything. That's the true power of the F-15 Reporter. It didn't need guns to dominate. Its weapon was vision, the ability to see what others couldn't, to know what others didn't. In many ways, the Northrop F-15 Reporter was not just a plane, it was a symbol of transition, the bridge between the propeller-driven warbirds of World War II and the jet-powered machines of the Cold War. It represented a turning point in how wars would be fought, not just with bullets, but with information. It showed that sometimes, the real kings of the sky aren't the ones that fight, they're the ones that see. So, was the F-15 Reporter truly the king of the sky? Perhaps not in battle, but in the silent war of intelligence and reconnaissance, it reigned supreme. It was faster than its rivals, smarter in design, and unmatched in purpose. It served in the shadows, but its contributions helped shape the strategies of the modern age. And today, though only a few remnants remain, bits of wreckage and photos in dusty archives, its spirit still soars. Every time a satellite photographs the Earth from orbit, or a stealth plane glides undetected above enemy territory, it carries a piece of the F-15 Reporter's legacy. This was not just an aircraft. It was a vision, a step ahead of its time, a silent guardian of the skies. Thank you for flying with wings of war, where forgotten aircraft are brought back to life. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories of aviation's boldest machines. Because here, we don't just tell history, we make it roar again. And remember, in every era, the sky belongs to those who dare to fly higher, faster, and further.